Hey guys, welcome back. And start this one off by saying never trust your machine shop. Always double check. And I'll bring you in and I'll show you what we got going on this week. All right, well, the patient under surgery for this week. Sorry, it's going to be another talking hands video, but this is the 363 Dart SHP block out of my blue notchback. Sitting here waiting to get this rolling, rocking and rolling again after the mishap with the melted pistons. Finally, I had other videos getting ready to rock and roll to put out of us tearing the block down and taking the machine shop, getting it back, blah blah blah. All that was kind of boring, so I didn't really carve a video out for that. I was gonna get into this, a nice build up, something a little different. You guys really don't see 363 going together. It's no different than any other stroker, but it's just a little different because of the slightly larger bores involved. These are 4.125 inch bores versus standard 4-inch small block Ford bore. So just bigger bores, a little bit less space in between the cylinders, more displacement, and it's as big as you can get going on for an 8.2 deck block. So we got these fancy custom pistons. I ordered them 2/1000 overbore, so all we had to do was get the block honed 2/1000 overbore. It'd clean up the scuffs from the previous melted pistons and be able to put this thing back together quick and easy. So I thought. So now these pistons are not cheap. Custom diamond pistons for blower spec. It came with the rings, the circlips, the piston ring, support rails, all this stuff. And this was like $1,600 for a set of 8 pistons and rings, which is not anything you got to take lightly. So I did a lot of homework before I decided to go back with the same piston again, because everything was easy. I didn't have to get it balanced again. I'm in England and getting things done over here is difficult. Got the block stripped down, took the machine shop, told them what I needed, told them what the specs were, wrote it all down. Because these piston rings are stainless steel top rings, and you look at because they're total seal rings, the instructions that came with the ring pack, but it doesn't give you instructions for how to hone the bores for stainless steel rings. It gives you moly faced or cast iron top ring, and there's the 280 grit, or a chrome faced top ring going to 220 grit, finish blah 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 blah. But nowhere in here does it tell you what to do with a stainless steel ring. And this came with the stainless steel rings, so I had to call Total Seal and get the lowdown, and they want you to finish the bore with 220 grit, and then you go to a 400 grit stone for 4 to 5 strokes of the honing head, and that'll give you the proper bore finish to break in the rings and still hold some oil without washing them all down during break-in. So gave them all the specs, gave them the block, boom, they knocked it out in like a day. I was super happy to get the engine back. It sat here, well, today's Saturday. The block sat here 7, 8, 9 days until I can get back to it. That other thing's going on. So I was sitting here 9 days. The other day, Pete showed up. We took it outside. We washed it out, brushed it out, got it all ready, had a bag over it for me this weekend to start putting the rings back in it, gapping the rings. A long, slow process, but that was the first step to getting everything rocking and rolling again. And I ran into a problem. So you take your engine and your hardware to a machine shop, and you expect a certain standard to hold certain tolerances and things like that when they do machine work. And here in England, it's difficult for me to find a good quality machine shop. There are several around. None are any better or any worse than any others. They've all had issues with me in the past: quality control issues, cost issues, time issues. I mean, pick the 3. You got good quality work, how fast you want it done, and then how expensive it is. And you get 2 at any given time. So these guys, they're reasonable for price, reasonable for speed. Quality has been that issue. So double checking things, here's the crux of it. it's supposed to have 5.5 thousandths of clearance for the piston. So I got my bore measuring tools and my stuff. I mean, I got calibrated old school Mishitoyo micrometers or calipers, you know, setting things up, measuring the pistons. The pistons measure exact to spec, 4.125 inches. You know, 4.125, bang on the money. All 8 of them. I mean, the ability to mass produce, if they wanted to, or even make these custom pistons to spec and to hold those tight of tolerances is pretty amazing. So pistons were right on the money. They even measured the old pistons to get the spec, and they were pretty much right on the money, except, you know, they've been run. You can see a little bit of scuffing. So they are 5/10 smaller, so 1/2 of 1,000 smaller, just by being run and broken in and driven. So even the old pistons were dead on what they should have been. So when I come into the block and I put the rings in to start, you know, gapping them, I couldn't get the ring parallel in this one because the rings were butting up against each other, even, you know, just trying to get it in the hole to try to, and if there's no gap for the field gauge at all, or it wouldn't even sit flush. This is the hole I had the problems with, so it keyed me in to take a deeper look. So I started measuring. A machine shop should be able to hold a bore tolerance to 0.0002, 2/10 all the way down the hole. So you measure, you know, your bores in 3 places, usually top, middle, bottom. You can go side to side and, you know, really get crazy, but just for the basics, you assume the hole is straight, and, you know, you take those 3 measurement points. But 1.3 at the top, 0.011 at the middle, and 0.016 at the bottom. So the bore ain't perfectly straight either. So this is the worst one. Yes, it's not a lot, but when you're talking this level of precision required to put an engine together, this is an important number, and I'm not going to second guess a $1,600 set of pistons by making the bores too tight to run, you know, for when I start putting boost and things through this. I mean, this short block here is capable of 1,200 horsepower with a good tune. Just the short block of the block, the crank, and the rods. It's all built for, you know, that level of power. And you start decreasing the bore to piston clearance, and you're going to start doing this type of stuff. So this is from, you know, the other engine. It had the part of the piston cracked out of it, but it got hot, it expanded too much, and it did this, you know, into the cylinder bores, where it scuffed the piston to heck and wrecked the bore, which is why we're doing all this. So I am not going to run this block until I take it back and have them fix this, because it's all on the tight side. I wouldn't mind it, you know, maybe a little bit on the loose side of a few tenths, but 13, 11, 16 tenths, I mean, that's the worst. This side of the block is better because it seems like they were consistent. You know, 548, 548, 448, 336. So it looks like he maybe started here. I don't know if his tools were out of spec or something like that. But then this was all pretty consistent. And then he went to this side of the block, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse as he went. So I got to go back, figure out what went wrong, have them fix their problem before we can start putting this engine together again. Because I was hoping I'd be way ahead of the curve again all weekend, gap some rings, put all the plugs and everything back in the block because it's all clean, put the cam bearings in, you know, lay the crank, assemble the pistons on the rods, just keep going and going. And now I'm dead in the water again, and couple more weeks of delay. So it's not easy to drop this stuff off at the machine shop either. It's, you know, a good 20 minutes from here, and you know, I got to go there after work because I can't, you know, hop out of work early to go or anything, and rush, rush, rush to get down there. And then I get down there, and then I'm in right in, you know, peak traffic time. But yeah. So, I mean, I went over and over and over measuring, making sure my stuff was accurate and my tools were set up accurate. I mean, I even went so far as, you know, getting feeler gauges and putting the pistons in the bore and running the feeler gauges down the side, and everything was coming up correct. That this was a good number, this was a good number, all my measuring tools were good numbers, and the bores were just tight. So even, you know, I was worried that the new pistons were going to weigh different than the old pistons were, and the balance job would get thrown out. Now we got the wife's Pampered Chef scale here, and we have the original piston, 461 grams. New piston, 461 grams. Oh, there. I don't know why it's changing. I just had it tared. It was 461. I lost a gram somewhere. But even, you know, I had 461 there. And this one I had 462. But 1 gram of difference between the new versus the old piston, even though they're 2/1000ths larger in diameter. But that's, you know, definitely nothing that I have to worry about rebalancing the motor for. So we're at a standstill again. I gotta wait till Monday, drop it back off, trying to be forthright with them about my expectations, yet trying not to get under their skin, call them out for being, you know, kind of shoddy machinists. But you know, I gotta hold them to some kind of standard. Last time I took a set of valves back that they couldn't, you know, the run out was like terrible on, and you know, I got an excuse, oh yeah, our machine's out, so we had to use another one we had, and that, you know, they're good now, which they were. But you shouldn't have your customer calling out the shop all the time on their tolerances. So there you go. This is a quick one. Hopefully we'll get this fixed soon. Catch you guys later. Bye bye.